Good afternoon. We had a start time of 4:15. It's about 4:28, and I know how busy all of our schedules are. 4:24 actually. So I'd like to get started. I'm sure we'll have a few more come in. On behalf of Wagner College, I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to a wonderful afternoon following a luncheon as well that really recognizes all of who we are together as a community. My name is Pat Tucker, and I am the Dean for Integrated Learning here at Wagner College. And community endeavors, community health, community engagement, community mindedness, community-based curriculums is nothing new to me. As a nurse for over 30 years, as a native Staten Islander, if you haven't figured that out already, although I'm holding on, or else my hands will be moving as I speak. Staten Island is my home. And Wagner is my second home. I've been a part of the Wagner community for many, many years as well, as an undergrad, a grad, a postgrad, an adjunct instructor, a full-time faculty member, and now a dean and associate faculty member in the School of Nursing. So I do love Wagner. I'm committed to all of who we are and all of where we're going under the wonderful leadership and vision of Richard Garassi, and our, I can't even get myself to say this yet, but our, current provost for a few more weeks, Devorah, for a few more weeks, who have truly taught me so much more than I could have ever imagined about community connectedness and how a campus can be committed to the health and the social and the economic and the educational needs of a community. And here we are today to recognize many of you that make that possible. So without taking too much time, we have a wonderful afternoon where we will recognize individuals specifically, but more importantly, we close with the opportunity to network and spend a little bit more of our day, if we're not too exhausted, with a reception that we were planning if the sun had come out, if it was truly spring. If the sun had come out, we would have just had to walk around the corner, and in the back of this wonderful new building is a patio and atrium, but I was told otherwise. It's just a little too cool. So we have a wonderful reception set up in the Spiro Sports Center in the VIP room, and we will cattle everybody over in case you don't know where that is. So please try to stick with us. I'm going to try to stay on a nice timeline, keep it interesting, and we'll finish with a reception with cocktails and some finger foods later on. Again, welcome. And at this time, I'd like to bring up my dear colleague, Provost and Vice President Devorah Lieberman. Thank you, Devorah.
It's so nice to see the Manzulli boardroom full of community partners. What's better than having an institution in the community that continues to bring people together in every way possible? So I am delighted. I think this is the first time I've seen so many community members in the Manzulli boardroom. So that makes me very, very happy because it's truly a town gown event. So my role today is, before I actually get into my role, I want us to take just a minute, because an event like this takes a year to plan. It takes a lifetime for you to put in the works that you do every day in the community, but it takes a year to plan an event like this. So please join me in thanking Dr. Cass Freedland and Dean Koehler for putting this together. And Camille Cook, who's their executive assistant, who, I don't want to say she really put it together, but you know that behind this stuff, there's a person who's doing all of this work. So she's not here today, but Cass and Pat, would you please let Camille know that we thanked her? Was Pat there? Yes. Oh, there you are. I thought you were hiding behind this pole. There you are. So I want to take just a minute and to have a lot of what we do happen. It takes individual work, it takes dedication, and it also takes financial contributions from individual donors. And one of our donors came in from Texas just for today. Mr. Don, sorry, I've already given you the doctor title. Mr. Don Fox is on the Board of Trustees. He's a member of our Board of Trustees. He graduated in 1964 from Wagner College and went on to get his MBA from the Wharton School of Business. And when he joined our Board of Trustees, as you know, any board member, we expect from them either work, wisdom, or wealth. Sometimes it's really just about the wealth. Sometimes it's just about the work, and sometimes it's just about the wisdom. I think rarely do we find members of the board who bring a commitment to work, to come to every board meeting, to be there when we need them, wisdom, to always helping us think through what's our strategic plan and how do we achieve it, asking the hard questions, and then also to contribute financially to those areas that give them great passion, or from which their passion springs. So Mr. Don Fox has taken such an interest in what we do here at Wagner College with the community, and his interest is not just what do you do with the community, but it's really very layered. He said, I want to contribute financially so that students benefit, so that faculty benefit, and so that the community benefits, not just one, but all three. So Mr. Don Fox created something called the Fox Fellows. And every year, faculty can apply to be a Fox Fellow, and they have to submit their projects. And then Mr. Fox looks through all of them, and with some of our help, he decides which Fox Fellows to fund. And I want you to say that 3 times, which Fox Fellows to fund. That's very difficult. So Mr. Fox flew in just for today. He came to the Community Partners Luncheon today. He's here this afternoon. He did a whole tour of Staten Island and many of the projects that he helped fund and really bring much further than they were before his funding began. So will you join me in thanking Mr. Don Fox for all his contributions to making this a reality. Thank you, Don. This is like the Academy Awards where we say we gave the award prior to the actual Academy Awards. So we gave this to him today at lunch, but I want to bring this over once more so that it will sit with him and then he'll take it home with him to Texas. Thank you, Don. We love you and we appreciate you.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is just the best part of the day. Best part of the year is bringing everyone from the community together, celebrating our partnership, celebrating all of the good works that go on throughout the community. Today is a really special day because we're going to be honoring, if you've seen your awards ceremony agenda, several very, very special people and organizations here at Wagner College. And it's also a very special day because we have an organization that we have partnered with throughout the year, our Community Days Committee, and we have joined together a community celebration of works that others do, as well as the work that goes on with Wagner College. And so this is a really great example of how college and community can work together to celebrate a wide number of individuals in the community. So Dr. Nair is here today to help give presentations at the end, as well as Pastor Michael. Where did you go? Oh, there you are back there, Pastor Michael. Well, I would first of all like to welcome all of our honored guests to really the best day of the year. For a little over an hour, we're able to join together as a community to celebrate the extraordinary accomplishments of individuals and organizations who are committed to making our world a more just and compassionate place. Each year, I ask students which organizations, public and not-for-profit, excite and inspire them to become agents of change. City Harvest, an organization dedicated to fighting hunger in communities throughout New York City, was mentioned many times. Through education and distribution of essential foodstuffs, City Harvest fans out across the city to nourish the mind, body, and spirit of 300,000 hungry men, women, and children each week. I'm getting older, my glasses aren't working. Today, we are truly honored to be presenting the Center for Leadership and Service Distinguished Leadership Award to Jilly Stephens, Executive Director of City Harvest. Ms. Stephens oversees City Harvest's work of rescuing food, using fleets of trucks, bikes, and volunteers, some are here today, on foot. In addition, Ms. Stephens has led City Harvest and its increased focus on providing fresh produce to hungry New Yorkers, and the development and implementation of programs to address issues that contribute to hunger in New York City. Over the past year, Ms. Stephens has put in place long-term initiatives designed to positively impact food systems in the 5 boroughs of New York City, while ensuring that the immediate food needs of hungry New Yorkers are met. At a time when more individuals and families are turning to soup kitchens and food pantries for help, City Harvest will rescue and deliver 28 million pounds of food. Absolutely extraordinary. In addition to food, the organization provides nutritional education to individuals, families, and communities to help them prevent and manage diet-related diseases. Their programs also support low-income communities seeking access to affordable, nutritious food, and they are dedicated to channeling a greater amount of local farm food to high-need areas. Thank you, Ms. Stephens and City Harvest, for inspiring a new generation of young adults to look at the world for its possibilities, and by example, encouraging them to work with compassion in their hearts. Ms. Stephens? The award says, Wagner College gratefully acknowledges the extraordinary contributions of Jilly Stephens and City Harvest for strengthening communities by creating transformative programs and services that nourish the body, mind, and spirit. And now Ms. Stephens is going to say a few words addressed particularly to our wonderful students.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Cass Freedland, for such a lovely introduction and for inviting me to Wagner College today and for making me feel so welcome. It's a pleasure to be at the Center for Leadership and Service and a real distinct honor to receive this award. And as you probably will notice by now, I'm not a native Staten Islander, but I am committed to leading City Harvest to do the work that we do for all New Yorkers in all 5 boroughs. I want to start off by thanking the students who volunteered their time and efforts to Wagner College's food drive for City Harvest, especially Emily Burkhardt and Jacinta Marie, who led the collections. So many students contributed in a variety of ways, too many to list, raising food and funds for City Harvest, and we really have appreciated your support in this effort. It's really fantastic to see such a robust civic engagement program, and to know that Wagner College students are so committed to becoming agents for change in their communities. It's been a pleasure to have met some of you already this afternoon. Your contributions will make a very real difference to your neighbours right here. City Harvest will distribute the food from Wagner College to programs that provide groceries and meals to those in need in Staten Island. So thank you so much for your help in that. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about City Harvest, but mostly to offer my perspective on public service, a field which I know many of you here are already involved in or importantly considering getting involved in. And I've served as City Harvest Executive Director for the past 5 years. Prior to that, I was Vice President of Programs, helping to develop the nutrition education programming that Cass just talked about. Before coming to City Harvest, I worked at another large international non-profit called Orbis International, and Orbis was dedicated to the elimination of avoidable blindness through hands-on surgical training and education that took place on board a DC-10 aircraft, which was outfitted to house an operating room and a classroom. I didn't know when I was in college that I wanted to work for a non-profit. My first job was for a very high-profile businessman in England. I was putting in very long hours on some very entrepreneurial projects that grew his business. It was a very exciting time, particularly for someone in the early 20s. And it was hard work. And after 5 years, I decided to take a break and just think about what to do next. And it was during this period that I learned about the job at Orbis International, and I dismissed it because I was taking a break and I wanted that break. I felt I deserved it. But within a matter of days, I heard about the same job again at Orbis International. And I looked into it. It was odd to me. It felt that it was an opportunity I needed to seize. It turned out that the entrepreneurial startup creative skills that I had developed working for the very successful businessman in England were a perfect fit for an organisation that needed to run this flying eye hospital and then move on to establish fully staffed and equipped field offices on the ground in developing countries around the world. And these were the places where we were moving doctors and nurses in to perform very needed eye surgeries. And so I think what I want to reference there is that it was having an open mind and sort of keeping my mind open to the possibilities that led me to just the best job at Orbis. I always feel that I've had the best jobs in my life, and that one at Orbis was really an important one. And so I would encourage you really, no matter what path you're on, just keep your mind open to the possibilities that are around you and explore them. It's something that's worked out very well for me, and I think it's something I would encourage everybody to do. And when you do begin working in non-profit, you may find it's not quite what you expected. Some of the most successful non-profits have grown to become more like for-profit businesses. Like businesses, these organisations have budgets, paid staff, human resources to take care of the staff, boards of directors, and programme deliverables that have to be met. And that's something that I think has changed over the last few decades, as programmes train people to enter the non-profit field, have developed and grown, and as non-profits have found that tapping the kind of business model associated with for-profits helps us use our resources wisely and provide the highest level service possible to people in need, and are really very good stewards of the donors' contribution. We can't do what we're doing without the support of donors. And it's incumbent upon us to spend every donor as wisely as possible in delivering the programme to the community. I'm really proud of the impact that we've had at City Harvest. As you just heard, we're serving over 300,000 New Yorkers every week. They're depending on us to rescue and deliver the food that we're moving. We're also helping New Yorkers with limited resources access good food in their communities, and we're helping to close the gaps in their knowledge around nutrition. We've begun to advocate and influence public policy to positively impact the people that we feed. And like most non-profit organisations, City Harvest started out very small. We weren't delivering £28 million that first year. We started out in response to a very real need here in New York City. Soup kitchens needed more food, and food businesses were throwing food away. And so in 1982, volunteers started City Harvest. They made the connection, and Food Rescue was born in New York City. At City Harvest, we've rescued more and more food each year. We got approval hot off the press, so your 28 million figure was right yesterday. Yesterday morning, yesterday afternoon, our executive committee approved an additional spend this year, so we'll be moving £29 million of food to hungry New Yorkers this year, free of charge. And as we've grown, we've seen how complex the problem of hunger is in New York City, and developing the programs that can help address some of the issues that surround hunger in the 5 boroughs of New York City becomes increasingly important to us. We now offer nutrition education programming for families, children and senior citizens. We've begun an initiative called Healthy Neighbourhoods, which envisions low-income communities where the residents have access to the good quality, affordable, nutritious food that they need to live a healthy life. And our second Healthy Neighbourhood was started right here in Staten Island. And I'd like to recognise Don Seema, who's here with his wife Anne, who's been one of our community volunteers really from the very early days of that programme. And we can't run this programme without the help of our community volunteers in each of the boroughs where we're working. We're working not only to deliver the food to hungry New Yorkers, but through those Healthy Neighbourhoods initiatives to create demand for healthier food and to open up new access points for healthy food. I've just mentioned the mobile market, which we have. Our program in Staten Island is on the North Shore. We distribute fresh produce twice a month at that mobile market. We've also supported the establishment of a youth market, offering affordable fresh produce. And we're working with corner stores in the area to offer healthier foods. We envision a North Shore where it's not hard to find or beyond people's reach to afford fresh, good quality produce. This is all to say that while City Harvest began as a grassroots organisation, we're no longer at that level. We began operations close to 30 years ago. We're no longer a startup organisation. And no matter what the mission, all non-profits have life cycles, different stages of maturity that define their structure and operations. And as those of you who are thinking of a career in non-profit, as you seek that career, think about what kind of charity you want to work for. Think about it the same way you might think about the kind of business that you want to work for. Do you want to work for a non-profit with an informal management structure, or one that has the systems, policies and procedures in place to be efficient? Do you want to take risks, or would you prefer to be in an environment where accomplishment is more defined? How important is fundraising and management to you? Do you want to be in an organisation that's relying mostly on volunteers? And is one strong, charismatic, creative leader enough? Also, think about the kind of role that you can play in the organisation's success. When people look at charities, they tend to see the executive director and the people who are on the ground in the community performing the services. Most charities rely on a lot of people behind the scenes. And so here in New York City, the City Harvest truck is what you see. But behind that fleet, there's a team that's sourcing the food, working with the individual feeding programs to place that food, raising funds, which is so critical to any non-profit, and developing the nutrition education curricula that we need. While we do rely on volunteers, and we can't do our work without volunteers, we have close to 100 employees at City Harvest, and that's something that many people are surprised to hear. And each person plays a very different role in helping us succeed. And the forces that we're up against at City Harvest today are even more considerable than they were when we started. We now face epidemics of hunger and diet-related disease. Other charities have become engaged in the fight against hunger, and they're working alongside City Harvest, but really the challenges are considerable. It's an exciting time, however, to be at City Harvest as we work to face those challenges together and with our partners. It's an exciting time, I think, to enter the non-profit field generally. The problems are bigger, but the solutions are bigger. There's some really bold, creative thinking going on, locally, nationally, and globally. And part of my principle when I think about the programming that we do at City Harvest and that I have done at Orbis International is a very heavy principle on partnership. We can't do the work we do without partnership in the community. I'm sure that you all have your own reasons for wanting to look at careers in non-profit. And for me, at the end of the day, it's about going home knowing that I've contributed to building the kind of world that I want to live in, that I want my children to live in. And I hope that you'll take what you've learned here at Wagner College and remain engaged with the world around you, whether or not you contribute your talents to a non-profit or to a for-profit. As you evaluate every opportunity, I encourage you to think about how can you help. I'm sure many of you have already begun to think along these lines, and as I've learned today, many of you are just doing it day in, day out. And thank you so much for being so involved in your community. It's been really an inspiration to meet you, I'm looking forward to spending more time with you and to answering any questions you might have at the cocktail afterwards. Thank you very much. It's an honor.
And now if I could just quickly call up the civic engagement students. Only one is going to come up. Okay, only Emily will come. And Emily would like to make a presentation.
Hi guys, thank you so much for coming and supporting us. If you donated cans or money or time or cheered us on, whatever you did, thank you very much. And we just wanted to present you with the envelope of funds that we raised and to let you know that we've collected 415 items and we're holding a canned food drive at the end of the semester. When kids leave, they tend to not want to hold on to their canned foods anymore and they'll donate, and so hopefully we'll have another big batch for you in the end of May. So we just want to thank you so much for being here, and you inspired a whole college to rise up, and I think this will continue again. And one thing that I'm hoping to leave is that Lockman, the dining services here, and City Harvest will join in partnership, and that Wagner can donate their food to City Harvest as a food rescue program as well. So thank you guys for coming. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much.
And so I can't not say out loud, thank you so much. You all are really such an inspiration, and Wagner College is fortunate to have you here. The community is fortunate to have you here in Wagner College. And look out for the City Harvest truck. It'll be coming to get the food. Thank you.
And now, if I'd like to begin the celebration with our Civic Engagement Recognition Awards of our Wagner community and our community partners. Joseph Conforti. Joe, would you like to come up here? I'm going to read this to you for maximum embarrassment. You'll be the guinea pig for everyone else. Joseph Conforti is widely recognized as an academically talented student athlete and is deeply respected for his civic activities in the community. Are you doing okay?
Yes.
Okay. As captain of the Wagner College baseball team for the past 3 years, Joe is a great leader on and off the field. His service activities include volunteering weekly at Staten Island University Hospital, greeting children in recovery rooms, and serving meals at an island soup kitchen. He was so gratified to be able to help a young boy with autism to serve as a bat boy for a day for a Wagner College baseball game, a reflection of his extraordinary desire to enrich the lives of those around him. Joe's ties with his hometown community are strong, and he values his long-standing relationships with his fellow Staten Islanders. As his friend Lisa writes in her nomination application, and I quote, "Joe is a selfless, self-sacrificing individual who is always eager to assist others. Joe might not know the person or even have time to devote to help someone out, but that is never a concern for him. Joe will break up a fight in New York City to defend an elderly woman getting mugged, help a group of girls practice for a charity football game, despite having his own practices to attend, and will even go to several pizzerias to pick up pizza to sell to the student body in order to raise money for a school for severely disabled. All of Joe's acts of kindness are done because of the enormous heart that he has, and no one deserves this award more than him. Joe, Wagner College is indebted to you for your generosity and leadership, and is so honored to be able to name you as a recipient of the 2011 Civic Engagement Recognition Day Award. Okay. No one wants to say any words. Our second award is to Dr. Lori Weintrob. Lori, would you like to stand here or would you rather sit? Okay. I'd like to give the faculty their choice. Okay. It is with a great deal of enthusiasm and admiration that I nominate Professor Lori Weintrob for the many ways in which she has advanced civic engagement at Wagner College. So begins Dr. Stephen Preskill in his nomination of Dr. Weintrob for the 2011 Civic Engagement Recognition Day Award. Dr. Lori Weintrob is Associate Professor and Department Chair of History. For over a decade, Dr. Weintrob has been a tireless advocate for civic education. She is equally interested in how service learning impacts institutions, communities, and traditional areas of scholarship, a viewpoint that is reinforced by her work with community members, students, and educators. She believes that civic engagement as a methodology sparks critical thinking and a thirst for learning across all disciplines, moving the hearts, hands, and minds of students, a theme she emphasizes in conferences and scholarly writings. Dr. Weintrob's community spirit extends far beyond the Wagner College campus. She is the living embodiment of the engaged citizen, grounded by principles learned from her family and childhood, and continually rejuvenated by her own students. Dr. Weintrob's groundbreaking work with community members in the Park Hill neighborhood of Staten Island melds personal conviction with academic rigor. She attends community meetings, actively advocates for action from local officials, and integrates her students wherever there is a community need. I'm almost done. She listens and learns from residents and brings these concepts to the attention of the Wagner community. Her energy is limitless as she creates and implements countless initiatives that improve the lives of many. Her role as co-chair of Staten Island 350, a year-long celebration of the 350th anniversary of Staten Island's founding, is especially noteworthy. Dr. Preskill says, "What has been accomplished is nothing short of breathtaking and is typical of the high standards she consistently maintains and the way in which she follows through on what she promises, both at Wagner and in the larger community." Wagner College enthusiastically and gratefully presents Dr. Lori Weintrob with the 2011 Civic Engagement Recognition Award.
I just want to say a few words of thanks to some people in the room who have been very inspirational to me. First, starting with some of my students. I think by now I've lured about 500 students into different community projects, from arts and education to tutoring, gardening, using some funds from Donald Fox. We planted many community gardens in Park Hill. And then more recently with Stephen Preskill, we've worked with Richmond High School. I also really need to thank my family. I'm actually on maternity leave right now, and I'm opening an exhibit in the library on Monday with the Chinese School of Staten Island, with some partners at Staten Island University Hospital and the Italian community on Staten Island. So all this couldn't happen if I didn't have a loving partner, a daughter who gets dragged to all the different community meetings, parents, one here and one at home watching the baby. So I just want to thank them. They don't get thanked enough for, the support structure that allows us to do these creative and fascinating community projects. Also Wagner itself, Devorah Lieberman, the provost, and Richard Garassi, Karen Garassi are role models to me in terms of setting very, very high standards for how to involve community partners, as evidenced by how many of you are here today. And all of us together, hopefully will make this borough just as strong and wonderful and terrific as it can always be with all the new assets of new immigrants and all the different populations in our borough. So thank you so much for this award.
Kristen Koehler. You can stand closer if you feel awkward, it's okay. I feel you're kind of wiggling your hands there, so come up a little closer, it's okay. Most people on the Wagner College campus don't know Dr. Kristen Koehler, know Dr. Kristen Koehler for her warm personality and willingness to help connect our great programs and projects with fundraising opportunities. As Director of Development, she is responsible for overseeing annual giving, donor relations, and special events. Very busy. But as a distinguished member of the 2011 Civic Engagement Recognition Day Award, we are able to view another side of this talented and thoughtful woman. As an active volunteer of Community Food Bank of New Jersey since 2005, Kristen devotes her weekends to food sorting in a warehouse, preparing mailings, volunteering in the Kids Closet program to put together care packages of clothing for children in need, stocking the Tools for Schools program with donated school supplies for teachers and classrooms in struggling areas, and collecting donations at concerts and sporting events. In 2010, her selfless generosity on behalf of Community Food Bank earned her the title of Volunteer Ambassador, a role she relishes. And just when you think that she doesn't have a moment more to give, Kristen heads over to Angel Paws Animal Shelter to socialize with abandoned pets and clean animal cages. A thoroughly engaged citizen, she also served on the board of directors of Jersey Cares for 4 years. Kristen, today we honor your compassionate spirit and outstanding commitment to action. You are a wonderful role model to all around you, and so many of us in this room are honored to call you a friend. Today, we humbly present you with the 2011 Civic Engagement Recognition Day Award.
Did you catch us, Lee? Okay. Did you want to say something?
I'm so humbled by this award. I was humbled to be nominated and just so appreciative. I've been at Wagner 2 years now, but it has a huge place in my heart. As you can tell by everyone in this room, we're here for a reason, and I'm very proud to be a part of that. Along the lines of thanking people, I have to thank my parents for setting the example that I follow. I have to thank my boyfriend for not being mad when I was at the animal shelter on Valentine's Day. I want to thank my colleagues for their support, for listening to all of my stories about the food bank and my experiences, and also trying to pawn off some of the animals on them. So thank you guys very, very much. Thank you so much for the nomination and the award.
Business Administration Department, would you folks like to all come up, or do you want to sit down? You want to sit down? Janice is giving the, I don't know, what kind of vibe is Janice giving us? Come on up. Come on, Kathy. Yeah. I like seeing multiple people standing up here sort of squirming. It's lovely. The Business Administration Department has, for years, understood the power of learn by doing. Deeply rooted in the community, the department has a long tradition of helping the local business community with accounting support and conducting important research for economic development leaders. Their work with the YMCA and the Civic Innovations Program has proven to be transformational for faculty, students, and the Y itself. Working closely with after-school program directors, faculty has designed courses that provide increasingly meaningful service commensurate with student capabilities and community partner needs. The faculty have tapped into their civic engagement activities in a profound way, bringing the results of their experience to their academic colleagues through national and international meetings and through numerous peer-reviewed journal articles. This year alone, Professor Frank DeSimone helped newly arrived freshmen navigate many complicated social issues faced as they mentored youth in after-school programs. This semester, Professor Budensick is working very closely with our Community Partner Award recipient for Richmond High School to bring business administration students into high school classes to develop financial education models for students in Port Richmond Public Schools. And Dr. Mary Loray's graduating seniors have built strong ties with Kristen Finn of the Y to develop organizational newsletters, conduct consumer surveys, and create marketing campaigns. Business faculty are consummate professionals and educators. They expect the same excellence from their students that they ask of themselves. They truly understand the interconnectedness of the college and the community. It is with great admiration, then, that Wagner College recognizes our colleagues in the Business Administration Department as 2011 recipients of the Civic Engagement Recognition Award.
That's the right one. Business administration.
Business administration. Oops. Would anybody like to say anything? Go ahead.
Spokesperson. Thank you all so much. Okay, I'm short. All right. Okay, vertically challenged, they say. On behalf of everyone, really, thank you so much for this. I have to, first and foremost, being the chair of the Department of Business Administration, I really want to tell you that I have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful faculty. It's really a true honor and a pleasure to be the chair of these wonderful individuals. So I thank you so much for helping me, okay, in order to, and our department and our college to receive this award. So thank you again, and thank you all for being here.
And now, may I invite Principal Tim Gannon up here for Richmond High School. Bringing up the crew.
I'm going to come right over to you.
Bringing up the crew. Okay. Our group from Pearl, please, please. What can we say about our good friends at Port Richmond High School? That they are innovative professionals and respected leaders in their field? Yes. That they are dedicated to the goal of every student realizing their potential and attending college upon graduation? Oh, sure, sure. That they show greater pride in everything they do, from instituting new learning communities to those delicious little hors d'oeuvres baked by the culinary arts students? Absolutely. But what really defines Port Richmond High School educators is their unyielding belief that sometimes, just sometimes, when you think outside the box, magic happens. And for the past 2 years, our superb partnership has been nothing short of magical. The generosity and mutuality of this collaboration has been remarkable. Principal Tim Gannon has opened the doors of his school to Wagner College students and programs that span the fields of health, finance, social justice, and literacy. He has been a steady and consistently engaged member of the Port Richmond Partnership, whose mission is to promote mutually collaborative efforts to provide educational, social, economic, and health opportunities to serve the Port Richmond community. He has introduced us to his talented colleagues, including Lisa Polari and Jack Romani, whose positive can-do spirit and boundless energy has been so inspiring. We deeply thank all of the extraordinary educators at Port Richmond High School for their willingness to try new things and for not rolling your eyes when we call you with a pitch, "We have something to float by you." From the bottom of our hearts, thank you for being such great friends to our students and faculty, and we look forward to exploring the great unknown with you for years to come.
Cass spoke about magic, and I really just wanted to thank the Wagner College students. I know Richard and Devorah have great visions, and Pat and Cass are phenomenal people, but the magicians are the Wagner College kids. And Port Richmond isn't the prettiest neighborhood, but we happen to have the most beautiful people. And sometimes it takes others to come in and make people understand their own beauty. And Wagner College students do that. And on behalf of my school, which is so positively impacted, but mostly on behalf of my kids and all the kids in the Port Richmond area, thank you to the Wagner College students for bringing out the magic that allows people to see their own beauty. Thank you.
Sarah, are you here? I think Sarah Scott had to leave. Yes, I think she had to leave. I have the honor, in place of Dr. Sarah Scott, to recognize a special individual, Emily Burkhardt, who has been awarded our Project Pericles Award. Emily, would you mind coming up? Our Project Pericles Award is a special award that's given to a graduating senior who has done extraordinary community work, particularly around the area of social justice. And oh, Emily, it is such a pleasure to recognize you today. I introduce Emily Burkhardt. Emily Burkhardt is a student dedicated to the community, the campus, and the classroom. Whether she is advocating for social justice through Project Pericles programs, initiating environmental projects on Wagner's campus, or serving as a resident assistant of the Green Community, Wagner College's sustainable living housing, Emily is a remarkable force of nature. As a Civic Engagement Certificate student, committed to 260 hours of service over the course of 4 years, Emily frequently engages with the Staten Island community in service. She serves as a role model for her peers while organizing cleanups, garden projects, plant sales, and other programs to educate others on the issues of environmentalism. Her work with Community Health Action, African Refuge, and the North Shore Waterfront Conservancy, and her recent chairing of the canned food drive to benefit City Harvest, attest to her extraordinary understanding of her role as an engaged citizen. While spending time and energy working with campus groups and volunteering with our community partners, she is still able to excel in the classroom and maintain her Founders Scholarship, which funds her academic career. A member of the Honors Program, Emily has earned one of Wagner College's first self-created interdisciplinary majors in psychology and philosophy with minors in history and economics. She is also a member of ODK, Psi Chi, and a president of Pre-Law. Emily is hoping to work in Washington, D.C. at a nonprofit that combats the complex issue of homelessness next year through the AmeriCorps program. Long-term goals include going to law school, traveling and living in other countries, and being a part of a comprehensive policy reform to increase access throughout the government and public systems. Part of the Pericles Award is that our awardee, our recipient, is able to choose an organization with which Wagner College makes a financial contribution. It's an organization that the student thinks very hard about, and Emily has chosen the American Red Cross and will be sending a donation to Japanese victims of the tsunami and earthquake. So with further ado, I'd like to present the Pericles Award to Emily Burkhardt.
I just want to say thank you. This is such an honor, and I wouldn't have thought that being a kid who was born and raised in Aurora, Colorado, and chose randomly to apply to schools in New York because that was farther away than California, and sounded like a fun place. Picked Wagner. I met Cass when I visited here and was told I had a scholarship and I was accepted, and it was a whirlwind day, and I had never been to New York before, and I drove out here, and I immediately got involved with Project Pericles. Sarah and Jillian were in my freshman LC. I can't believe I'm crying. It's just I can't believe I'm graduating. I can't believe every experience I've gotten here has been so life-changing, and I'm going to miss Wagner, and they're laughing at me, but it's true. We do miss you. We miss this life, and I know I'll only carry this with me and continue serving and acting in order to help others. And I thank you all for being a part of what inspired me to grow up to be like you. So thank you.
Well, with that, unfortunately, because I could give awards all day, they're just the best thing to give, but with that, I would like to welcome Dr. Nair up. Dr. Nair will be providing, please, will be serving as the Community Days Founder Award MC.
Cass Freedland, the Provost, and the other members who are, we'll call all of them Provosts of Wagner College, important people. Anthony Ferrari from the Staten Island University Hospitals here, thank you for inviting Community Days, Cass, and making it possible for us to make our appearance here, because we used to have meetings and it used to be very ill attended. You know, someone who was gambling away in Atlantic City and had a bunch of coins with her, gets into the elevator, and a short guy and a tall guy charge into the elevator and says, "Hit the floor." So the lady virtually froze, and somehow she scrambled to her floor in the hotel. And next morning, there was a note on the door with a bouquet of flowers saying, "Hope you had a nice night," signed Eddie Murphy and Michael Jordan. I brought the story up only because this is what Community Days have really taught us. You know, when you go into all of us faith groups are situated in a way that we do good things on a daily basis. Some of us pray 5 times a day. But when you really get to know each other, all those barriers disappear. And you get to know the beauty of each other. Actually, the Community Days actually started back in 1999, as a matter of fact, as a mitzvah day. The word meaning it's a divine commandment to do good. And then it was not until 2003 that the various faith groups, and some of the founders are right here. I saw Imam Tahir, Farid Petroli walking in, and at the time David Katz, I think, of Wagner College was involved. Lee McCallum from Olivet Church was involved. So since then, we have been having regular meetings right through the year, but focus on this weekend that's coming up right after the Wagner College Day, symbolically, this is the kickoff for this Community Day weekend that is coming up. So, and starting last year, we started to pick some awardees for each year. And we had a number of awardees, Founders Award, that was given last year. But this year, we picked 3 important organizations. One is the Staten Island University Hospital. The other one is the Staten Island Trust Foundation. And the third one is, we are happy to pick you, Wagner College, who really has been at the backbone of these community days all these years. So it is with great pleasure and honor that I stand before you to present the award. And Richard, Michael, you want to come here too? No person has been more helpful and inspirational in these meetings than Reverend Richard Michael from Trinity Lutheran. And it is with a heavy heart that I have to say that he has found opportunities in retirement in Florida, and will be soon leaving us. And it will be a big shoes for whoever is going to follow to fill. And he also has a presence here in Wagner College, and he was singularly instrumental in getting one of the Hindu deities installed here on the campus of Wagner College. And I'm looking at his face, I could see that not without some amount of opposition in the beginning, I'm sure. And so the first award recipient, I guess anyone from Ms. Betsy Dubowski is. Oh, you want here? Oh, you came in late. Staten Island Foundation, or the Staten Island Trust Foundation, I think that's.
No,
Staten
Island
Oh, I was
Foundation.
wondering later that, okay, Staten Island Foundation has been all along involved with community days. I think one of the initial funds, if you can see, many years ago, that was given to community days was under the auspices of Staten Island Foundation. So it is only proper that we give this award. And you want to read the...
Proudly presented to Staten Island Foundation for their role of support for community days as it fosters mutual cooperation, understanding, and ongoing participation in the community needs of Staten Island. The Community Days Planning Committee on this Community Days 2011. Congratulations. They actually, Staten Island Foundation actually gave us the seed money to get Community Days started all those years ago. And we're still working with some of that money, so we've been very, very, very careful with it. I just want you to know that. So.
Yeah, that's quite true.
Thank
Absolutely.
you very much.
Thanks. The second recipient of the award tonight is none other than Staten Island University Hospital. I have the President and the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Anthony Ferreri, right here. And I Chris Hawley is here, and Sadiga. You two were the ones who started this thing with the involvement with Staten Island University Hospital. And we were quite pleased to see that a big hospital such as his is involved in outreach, community outreach programs of the kind that helps regular people. So, as was pointed out before, it's being increasingly recognized that on a daily basis, the common people is who count. It is the common people that out of whom great people arise. So I think it is very, very heartwarming to see that a big institution like Staten Island University Hospital has a big role now, taking on increasingly big role, and you saw how they are involving themselves with Wagner College as well. It's only proper that it takes us pleasure to give this award, and I think Mr. Ferreri himself is here to accept it. Thank you very much.
I want to thank the hospital too, because we have a soup kitchen at Trinity where I'm pastor, and a few weeks ago, I think probably close to 100 people went through the health fair and received flu shots and information, and it was wonderful. My day began unloading a city harvest truck this morning, so very grateful for that as well. Proudly presented to Staten Island University Hospital for their role of support for Community Days as it fosters mutual cooperation, understanding, and ongoing participation in the community needs of Staten Island. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nair, and thank you, Provost, Dr. Tucker, and Dr. Freedland. Thank you very much, Reverend. You know, Dr. Nair began by talking about understanding others and diversity, and I guess this all goes back to this year we celebrate the 150th anniversary of Staten Island Hospital. The hospital was founded actually on April 19th, 1861, just a week after the beginning of the Civil War. And it was founded on a corner on Bay Street in Stapleton as a 10-bed infirmary. And on that day, it was actually founded by the Richmond County Medical Society. It was founded for people who could not pay for their care. It was founded for people who could not pay a doctor to come to their home and take care of them. Think about that. That 10-bed infirmary on Bay Street in Stapleton treated people who could not afford to pay for their care. That 10-bed infirmary on Bay Street in Stapleton has now become a $700 million a year, 700-bed acute care facility, major teaching hospital in the city of New York that has over 400 medical students rotating through, 240 residents and fellows, and provides care to 42,000 admissions each year. What we also do is what a lot of people don't realize we do at Staten Island University Hospital, and the people to my right represent that, is that we also take responsibility for our community. You see, in the city of New York, each of the 5 boroughs, 4 of the 5 boroughs, has at least 2 public hospitals. Staten Island does not have a public hospital. All of the care that would typically be provided for by a public hospital is provided by 2 not-for-profit hospitals. Richmond University Medical Center and Staten Island University Hospital. And this hospital today provides that care, and in reference to what Dr. Nair had said in his introduction, we provide care in this community. There are over 300,000 clinic visits each year that are provided to people of Staten Island, provided to people who otherwise could not afford to pay for their care. No one is turned away from our doors, whether as an outpatient or an inpatient. Getting back to that infirmary on Bay Street 150 years ago. And if you'll indulge me for a moment, I had someone come to me at a fundraiser for the hospital once who had complained that her husband had to wait for several hours in the emergency room behind people who were obviously, in her opinion, undocumented aliens who could not pay for their care, and she paid for her care and she paid for her health insurance. And I told her a story about something that had occurred to me. And that was about 3 years ago. One of our nurses at the hospital had found an old register, a hospital register, that was packed away in a garbage bag on top of a file cabinet. In the register were the names of people who had been seen during 1928 and 1929. And also being a native Staten Islander, I decided to look for names of people that were familiar to me, or surnames that were familiar to me. And after about an hour and a half, I came across the name of Anthony DiSerafino, my grandfather, who was treated at the hospital in 1929, who had been seen in a clinic at the hospital, who was admitted to a ward in the hospital, and has spent 6 days being treated for an infection in his hand. His care was paid for at the time by the city of New York. The fact that he was seen in the clinic would indicate that he did not have the money to pay for his care. I felt that discovering that particular register and that name in that register from 1929 was a message to me about why we care for people regardless of their ability to pay, and why the people to my right spend so much time in the community providing the services that otherwise would not exist for the people of Staten Island, because again, we have no public hospital, and we have no city support of our services in Staten Island. So I'm sorry for going on so long, but I do want to congratulate everyone, and our fellow honorees for this wonderful honor. Thank you very much.
Okay, Wagner College is the third one, and I don't have to say anything about our mutual commitments, our mutual relationship over the years, and the splendor of the so-called community day weekend would not be here without this an evening of a startup evening like this today. And year after year we have listened to opinion leaders. Today we have Ms. Jilly Stephens, who mentioned in her previous work how she was able to address blindness from trachoma, which is a very common cause of blindness in India, for example. I think you have been in those areas as well. So it's simply inspirational for a small organization like ours to be attached to a magnificent college organization such as provided to our meetings, month after month by Cass Freedland, and I thank her. And Cassie, who's going to be?
Dr. Lieberman, would you sit here?
Look at her.
Dr. Devorah Lieberman, who is the provost of Wagner College.
For a few more weeks. Wagner College, we proudly present to you for your role of support for community days as it fosters mutual cooperation, understanding, and ongoing participation in the community needs of Staten Island. Congratulations. Pleasure. You don't need to say anything, no, that's all right.
They've heard from me. Thank you.
She's bashful, shy.
First of all, I would like to say, we keep saying I'm only here for a few more weeks. I wasn't fired. I just don't want to get fired. It was a choice. But what I do want to say is, first of all, thank you very much, very, very much on behalf of Wagner College. And as you know, the Wagner College mission is deeply grounded in helping every student who graduates from Wagner College, providing an education for them so that they have the skills to become civic professionals. If it weren't for working on a daily basis through the curriculum and the co-curriculum with every person in this room, our students would not have those skills. And if it weren't for the opportunities for community days, we as a campus would not be able to provide what we do for our students and the community. So we're committed for a long-term relationship with community days and with the entire community. So we thank you very, very much.
So before I close, I would just say in closing again that as one of our gurus used to say, prayer is an action, but prayerfulness is an attitude. So we have to go from the action to an attitude. And if you have that attitude in your mind, in your life, you will find everything that you meet. This is a world which is fraught with so many problems. And the only way you can solve the problem is, for the youngsters particularly, I know I'm preaching to the choir, looking at some other people, but the only way to be able to sleep at night is to have the proper attitude within yourself and to look for absolute beauty. There is no politics about something that is proper and beautiful to see. It is beauty, and nothing but beauty. There are so many things when we look around which are beautiful. And those, as well as your attitude, will carry you through the day on a daily basis. And community days hopefully will address to that on a daily basis rather than one weekend a year. And again, thank you everyone for allowing me to stand before you, between you and the meal, And again, Cass, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nair and Pastor Michael, for finishing up this wonderful awards ceremony. I would like to take one final moment to again thank Mr. Fox, Mr. Don Fox, for being here today. I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to Jilly Stephens for joining us today and giving words of wisdom to our students who I know are going to be talking with me about it next week with all kinds of great ideas. Hey, Cass, why don't I do this, this, and this? So I'm very excited about that. To Joe, to Lori Weintrob, to Kristen, to Tim Gannon at Richmond High School, to the entire Business Administration Department, and to our good friend Emily Burkhardt. We'd like to again, one more time, please extend a welcome congratulations. We have a lovely reception that we hope everyone here will migrate en masse to. It is actually in Spiro Sports Center, which is just on the other side of the round building, the Spiro Center here, and up the stairs. We have wonderful, wonderful, might there be wine? Did I understand there might be wine? Perhaps there's wine. So thank you. I hope everyone joins us. Thank you everyone for taking time from your day to help us celebrate our wonderful community. Bye-bye.